You just got your first Japanese knife for Christmas and you are super excited, but you're also a little hesitant to use it because you want to make sure that you know how to maintain it properly and make sure that it lasts forever. So in today's video, we're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to maintain your Japanese knife. Wicked. So you got your first knife, and first thing you're going to think about is what type of steel it's made from. This is really important to how you're going to maintain your knife, or what you need to think about in order to properly maintain your knife. So in front of me here I have 3 examples of the different compositions of steel you will find on a Japanese knife. Starting from your left, my right, is the Moritaka Hanesuke ironclad. In the middle we have the Atetsu Nashiji Bunka stainless clad. And finally, we have the Zuin Bunka, fully stainless. You will notice on all Japanese knives, they have a clad line, which means all Japanese knives are made in the sanmai style or forge welded style, which means they have 2 materials of generally softer steel or iron on the outside and a harder layer of carbon through the core. So just because your knife has a clad line on it does not mean that it's a carbon steel knife or a stainless clad knife. So you need to pay attention to what materials your knife is made from. If it's fully stainless, you can kind of skip this part. General rule of thumb here is just keep your knife clean and dry. Don't put it in the dishwasher. And if you make a mistake with a stainless steel knife, forget to wipe it down. No big deal. It's not going to rust on you or anything. So a little bit easier to maintain as the stainless steel, of course. Now, with your carbon steel knives, whether it's stainless clad or iron clad, you need to make sure your knife stays dry and clean. And general rule of thumb here is when you're finished chopping and before you put your knife down on the board for any length of time, whether that's 20 seconds or 20 minutes, you need to give it a quick wipe down with a damp towel. That's all you really need to do to properly maintain your carbon steel knives and keep them from rusting. The only difference between these guys and a stainless steel knife is that if you fail to wipe your knife down, these guys will punish you in the form of rust on your knife. Now, rust on your knife is not a big deal. It can be easily removed with either baking soda and water formed into like a little paste that you'd use to scrub it away. You could pick up a rust eraser and it works just like a pencil eraser for rust on your knife. You just scrub away any rust. If it's really bad, you can go into more abrasive tools like sandpaper or the green scrubby side of your, oh gosh, what is it called? A sponge. The green scrubby side of your sponge. So in any, the difference between an ironclad knife and a stainless clad knife is that if you do fail to wipe down your stainless clad knife, only that exposed carbon steel right at the edge is going to rust, whereas on your ironclad knife, the whole knife is going to rust. So if you have a carbon steel knife, make sure that you get yourself in the habit of keeping a damp towel next to your station. Wipe your knife down immediately after. Now, if you do fail to wipe your knife down and you get some rust on your knife, we've got a video that will link up here on rust removal, so you can check that out. Or you can bring your knife into the shop either in Hamilton or Etobicoke, or you can mail it in to us if you're from away, and we'll happily remove the rust for you. Moving on to edge maintenance. And there's really only one proper way to sharpen a Japanese knife, and that's using a whetstone. Now, the whetstone definitely takes some time and effort to learn how to use, and if you are interested in a new hobby, sharpening knives is tons of fun. I love sharpening knives, and when I was working in a kitchen, one of my favorite pastimes on a Sunday morning after a long week of work was putting a pot of coffee on, some tunes, get my stones soaked in some water, and spending an hour or 2 sharpening all of my knives, get myself ready for the week ahead. If you're looking for your first stone, the stone you should get is a 1000 grit. This is a Suihiro Syrax 1000 grit stone. We use these to sharpen all of the knives that come into the shop. And if you are able to maintain your knife on a 1000 grit stone, there's little to no reason why you should ever have to go lower than this stone. The lower grit stones are great if you get little chips or nicks in your knife, or if you let it go a long time and you need to remove a lot of material to get it sharp again. If you are interested in learning how to sharpen your knife, we have a video that will link up above here. It takes you through all of the steps to learn how to sharpen your knife properly. It does recommend that you have 3 whetstones, but the process is the same on all 3. So again, if you're just gonna get 1 stone to maintain your knife, 1000 grit's all you need, and that sharpening video will show you how to do it. I'll give you a quick rundown on how to use your honing rod as well. Now, you can do it like this, straight up and down on your board, and pull the knife towards you, like so. This is a great way to start learning how to use your honing rod. Speed is not important here. Just making sure you get a good contact with the majority, if not all, of the blade. What will sometimes happen when you're honing your knife and you're not making good contact all the way is you'll end up contacting the honing rod sort of somewhere in here and not hitting the heel, which is going to cause your knife to what's called bird's beak. You're going to end up with this sort of like rut in here, and the knife's not going to contact the board properly if you get a little rut there. So making sure you're using the whole edge of your knife when you're honing, taking your time, using good consistent strokes, making sure our angle is consistent the whole time. Speed is not important here. That's all I'll show you for now. If you're interested in learning more about honing, we'll link a video up here that we made in the past as well. Finally, we'll talk about the leather strop. This guy's more so used in your sharpening progression, should be used after your whetstone to further refine the edge of your knife. You can use this to maintain your edges as well between chips to the stone, but because of how fine it is, it's not really going to be super effective, especially as your knife gets a little more on the dull side. But I did used to work with guys that would hone their knives on their leather strop between every shallot that they cut, so they were like razor sharp all the time. Moving on to the surface that we're cutting on. Now, you've likely spent a good amount of money on your knife, so it stands to reason that you should be cutting on something that's going to treat the edge of your knife well. Now, you want to stay away from granite or glass or plastic or bamboo as much as you can. Wooden boards are definitely the best, or like a Hasegawa high soft board is going to treat your edges the best. If you have to use plastic, of course, a lot of people work in professional kitchens and there's not really any way around it. No big deal. You're just going to have to sharpen your knife probably a little bit more frequently. But a good wooden cutting board is going to do a lot to keep your knife sharp for longer, meaning you're going to have to sharpen it less, meaning you're going to remove less material from your knife, meaning your knife is going to last longer. Now, on the subject of wood, the last thing we'll talk about is the handle on your knife. Now, it's not certain that you've picked up a natural wood handle. You may have picked up like a Western steel or Western handle knife with Paka wood. Yeah, the Zwien's Paka as well, right? So if you've, in any case, if you've picked up, this kind of applies to anything, whether it's Paka wood or not. If it's natural wood though, you're gonna really need to make sure that you always grab your knife with a clean, dry hand. That way you're not getting the wood wet, which of course is going to, like any other wooden product, cause it to expand and contract, which is going to cause it to split apart over time and just make it so that you have to replace your handle, which you don't want to do. So always grab your knife with a clean, dry hand. When we're cleaning our knife, you can absolutely run water over your knife and use soap on it. But in an ideal world, your handle will remain clean at all times. So all you really have to do is kind of rinse it off gently and then use a non-abrasive towel or sponge to dry it. We see people bring in their knives with kind of like fuzzy handles, and that's usually because they've scrubbed it too aggressively with the green scouring side of their sponge or something like that. These handles are generally like polished really nicely and finished with like beeswax or tung oil or something like that, which gives it sort of like a bit of a finish to it. And by scrubbing it too aggressively, you're removing that finish, which is going to expose just the natural wood to the elements, which again is going to cause it to crack and break away. Not super necessary, but a lot of guys will treat their handles with either mineral oil or beeswax or something like that every once in a while. I don't do this as much as I should, but I'll probably do mine once every year or so. And it just helps to keep the wood hydrated and again, keep it from cracking and falling apart on you. So there you have it, guys. Those are some maintenance tips to keep your knives nice and sharp and lasting a long time. I hope you enjoy your new knife, whether you got it from us or from another retailer. If any of you have any points that you'd like to make down below in the comment section, we always appreciate some feedback and some extra pointers down below. So if you have anything that you do to make to maintain your knives and you want to share it with us and our followers, leave it down below in the comment section. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to our channel for more knife related content, and until the next one, stay sharp.